Everybody. Welcome to the Data Show. I'm Chris Greco, your host for the next 30 minutes. We're going to talk about different types of data, how data affects our lives, really, and how they're presented, and what you can do to try to find and dive down into those data points and figure out exactly what's going on from the standpoint of what is reported and what is real. So I think that this is that the area here, since this is February. The January unemployment rates just came out. And the big media thing was that this is the lowest unemployment since 1969. This is the last time we had 3.4% unemployment rate was 1969. So I thought, well, what exactly does that mean, and how exactly does that affect us? And what is the unemployment rate? What does it do? What are the things that so the best place to look up this area, and this is the important aspect about data, right? So where is the data? Where can I find it? Well, the best thing to do is to go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So that's where you get the unemployment rate. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and that's where I went, and that's where you can get a lot of different data. You can just get all kind of different data from this thing. So what I did was I went ahead and I went down to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, and so what I did was first, and let me just show you what I did from the screen perspective, so that you guys can take a look at this whole thing. So this is what I did. I put unemployment rates in U.S. history, and you're going to get all kind of different ones. Bureau of Labor Statistics.gov. So here's the different here are the different ones here, right? September, October, November, December. We were hovering right around 3.4, anyways. But historical U.S. employment rate by year, thebalancemoney.com. So these are commercial websites. Um, so what happens is that these are going to be not necessarily government sanctioned. In fact, they're not government sanctioned websites. So what happens is that these are the situations where, USAFacts.org, U.S. unemployment trends, view historical data, all these different things. The chances are that they probably got the data from the government website to begin with. So I always go back to the government website, bls.gov. This is your Bureau of Labor Statistics, bls.gov. So I decided and said, okay, well, hey, where can I find the unemployment rate for previous years? BLS.gov, CPS. So I took a look at the different tables. I went to BLS.gov CPS tables, and I'm going to go ahead and just copy this right here for you, and just make sure that you know that this exists, because I think this is important. So this is the website that I'm referring to right now, and you guys can take a look at it. So there's all kind of different labor force statistics from current population survey. So there's all kind of different things that you have here. I mean, there are tons and tons of information. CPS tables, unemployment status of civilian non-institutional population, Hispanic Latino population, and you notice right here, SLSX. These are Excel files. You can download these files. You can download the files, and you can do whatever type of data analysis you want to be done against that. So I think this is important to understand. What is it that I need to be able to, get away? I'm going to tell you this just as a general rule of thumb. Here's something on the media. What I do is I say, I'm not going to say I don't believe the media. What I'm going to say is the thing we used to say when I worked for the National Security Agency, is that in God we trust and all others we monitor. In God we trust, all others we verify. And this is what we need to do, is verify exactly what they're talking about. So I went to the CPS tables, and I thought, okay, I'm going to go to the CPS tables, and I basically I went here, annual average data. And I went here and I downloaded this XLSX. Now, you remember on these cooking shows where they have the recipe and they give the recipe and everything, and they put it all together and they slap it all together and whatever else, and then they go, and I happen to have one right here in the oven that's already finished. It's all perfect. Well, I'm not going to say mine is perfect, but I will tell you that I did download those areas, and the way you can tell is my downloads are right here. So this is where, so I did in fact download those tables. This is the series report 2023. So this is what I have. So I'm going to go to the area here, the series report, and just to let's take a look at it. So this is Bureau of Labor Statistics download report, gives you a series ID and everything. It's really nice. Unemployment rate, type of data, percent of rate, 16 years and older, age 1948 to 2023. So I took a look at that and I said, well, in 1948 we had 3.4%. In January, and this is January. This is January only, folks. Okay, that I'm comparing to because it's January to January. This is what they're comparing it to. This is not an overall average. This is a monthly report by the Bureau of Labor Statistics. So you can't sit back and say, "Gosh, this year in 2022 we had no, no. This is just January now." So you have 5.8 here. And so what in 69, let's take a look at it, 3.4. So you definitely have in this area, you have 3.4%, right? In fact, we're going to bring this down just a little bit. Can I bring it down? Can I bring it down? I can't bring it down. Okay. So this is 69, right? 3.4%. And then everything else, you take a look at it. No, no more 3.4%, no more 3.4%, no more 3.4%. Up, here we go. There it is, 3.4% in 2023. Now, that doesn't take into consideration 2021, we had 6.3%, 4.0% in 2022. It was coming down. Now, what happened in 2021 was post-pandemic stuff, right? Pandemic was just, I mean, January 2020, when you take a look at this, January 2020 was just the beginning, really, of the pandemic. It was just starting in that area. February, March is when it really hit, and then 2021 was horrible. And then we had 2022 coming down through 4.0, and then 2023 3.4. So if you take into consideration, this president's term, right? So it started in 2020, right? Well, 2021 really. So we'll give them the 2021 thing. 6.3.0, 4.0, and 3.4. It's not a real great average in January, but it is coming down. So I think that is important, and that's something we have to consider. So I thought, well, that's really nice, and that's nice for unemployment rate. But what about the employment rate? So, let's, as a data person, what we should always do is try to say, okay, that's nice for the unemployment rate. Oh, yes, the unemployment rate's coming down. Yay. Good. But what is the employment rate? Because remember that even in the 3 years or 4 years or whatever it is, you're going to have a population change. Right, so that population change is what we always want to do apples to apples here. We always want to compare those areas. So what I did was I also took into consideration this right here, and this is the annual averages employment status of civilian non-institutional population. Right, there it is, 1952, whatever it is. Now, you're going to sit there and say, whoa, 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 Chris, where did you get that? Well, I got it from this area right here. So this is the annual average data for unemployment rate. But I wanted to see some other things. So what I did was I went to census.gov and saw the data population here. But in addition to that, I also went here to the Bureau of Labor Statistics survey, what they call PDQ, Survey Output Servlet. So I can use whatever I want from the standpoint of different changes based on their database. What I did was I took a look at 1948 to 2023, and I took a look again at here's the unemployment rate, right? So that's pretty cool. I like that. So I wanted to go to more formatting options and see what else they have. And they have all kind of different formatting options here. Now you can specify whatever date they have to whatever time they want. And they will, including graphs, annual averages, everything that you want from that standpoint. So it really is nice from being able to do that. So these data tools are amazing areas, right? I mean, you just hit data tools and you can do all kind of different ones. CPI inflation calculator, injury and illness calculator, charts for economic news, data finder, public data. Look at this. These are just the subjects: consumer employment costs, state and local unemployment rates, unemployment research, national unemployment rate, employment, national employment. And I thought, well, okay, let's go to national employment. So we're going to go to national employment here, and you can sit here and take a look at these different areas. And now this is a chart that shows 1 month, 3 months, 6 month, you know, employment change by industry. I really like these. Look at this. It gives everything: construction, manufacturing, wholesale trade, retail trade, transportation and warehousing, utilities, all these different types of employment aspects. Total known farm employment change, and you can actually go here. So employment change is 517,000. So remember that the number of jobs here, employment change by industry, seasonally adjusted in thousands, 1 month net change. What is this thing right here? What is this thing right here? This thing right here is called it's a 90% confidence interval. We've covered confidence intervals before. We've covered them before. So what is that? That means it's somewhere that there's 90% confidence that if you do this over and 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 over again, you're going to get somewhere between, you're going to get somewhere in these intervals here. Somewhere in these intervals. Now, what's the interval? Interval is 385,000 to 648,000. That means that somewhere within that, if you conduct this employment change by whatever survey you're using, you are going to get somewhere between, if you do it over a million times, you're going to get somewhere between 385,000 and 648,000. That's what you're going to get. That's a large interval, folks. That is a very, very large interval, and but the employment change is 517,000. That's non-farm. Total private is about 443,000. Again, employment change. But look at the rest of these. Wholesale trade, servicing. This is service providing. Now that could be anything between coaching, it could be counseling, it could be, in other words, you're providing a service. And so that could be it. Mining and logging, look at that, 2,000. Construction, 25,000. Manufacturing, 19,000. Not too many here. Professional and business services. Oh, I'm sorry. So the service providing might be, the service providing is probably something like appliance providing, right? Appliance repair, that type of thing. Professional and business services are coaching, counseling, that type of thing. Private education, 105,000. Other services, government, 74,000. I don't know whether that's state, local, national, whatever that is. So in other words, you can find a lot of different things here. So that's 1 month. This is 3 months, 6 months, and 12 months. And you can see, you notice how the 90% interval changes here? So the 90% interval changes, but it's still pretty large. I mean, this is 4,589 to 5,344. So we're talking about a 400,000 difference here. So either way, so there's, this is a lot of good data that you can take a look at, and you can, payroll employment rises by 517,000 in January. Unemployment rate changes little at 3.4. Think about this for a second. Real average hourly earnings for employees increased 0.4%. This is what you can get from BLS.gov. This is what you can get. But look at this. Rates changes little at 3.4%. So you sit back and you go, is that right? That's interesting. You have all the current population, you have the annual averages, all these things. And the interesting thing about it is that if you go back to these areas and you go back to the actual government area, you see that when it says it little, I don't know. Now, that what they're basing it on December here. So December, this is December of 2022, you had 3.5. People talked about 3.5, but they didn't say much. Why? Because we've had 3.5 before. But the bottom line is that, really, I think I would have said something about 3.5. I would have said, hey, 3.5, we're still lower than many of the years, we're talking about here. So, I mean, it grew. I mean, look at the 2010, 9.8. I mean, look at 2000. Look at some of these. Look at 1983. 1983. I mean, this thing was huge. 10.4 in 1983. 10.4% unemployment rate in 1983. We were hurting, folks. I mean, it didn't seem like it, but we were. I mean, and so what happened in let's take a look at different areas like let's take a look at the when the oil crisis hit, right? 7.9%, 7.5%. So this, we talk about 3.4 and I'm happy for it, I really am. So what did I do when I talked about different aspects about employment? So I'm going to just go back here real quick. So this is the series report that I got. I downloaded it. You can get it. You can just take a look at it from there. But in addition to that, I took a look at the employment additions, right? So I took a look at employment, and I got that again from the Bureau of Labor statistics. And look what I found here. I found this is the employment by US population from around 1948 or 1969 all the way through to 2022. Now take a look at this for a second. Look at these areas. This is 1979. We had a 59.9% employment rate. Look at this. In 2000, we had a 64.4% employment rate. That's huge. Look at what we have here. This is the most current one, 2022, 60. So, I mean, in 2019, we had 60.8, but look at some of these, 2007, you know, and then look at this from 2008, it dropped because we were having problems then. It dropped all the way until about 2013. I mean, employment rate in the United States was 58.6%. Now, you're going to sit there and take a look at this graph. And let me tell you something about graphs. Graphs can be extremely um, disturbingly misinformation. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is misinformation. Because if you take a look, and I'm going to rise it for you here, it starts at 65, but where does it end? It ends at 55. There's only a 10% difference in here, folks. 10%. Now watch what happens. This is, and I'm sorry, and I'm not busting on the US government because I worked for them for a long time, but this is how you present a graph, and it is very, very misleading. So what you do is you go to the the actual option here, the format axis option, and instead of 55, I'm going to put 0. Now look what happens to the graph. I mean, look at this. Does that look like there's much change here? I mean, I'm not saying it's a straight line, and it did fall off here, from 2019 to 2020. Again, pandemic, right? But look what happened. I mean, this is what you have to take into consideration. Yes, sit there and say, "Oh my gosh, this is horrible," when you take a look at it from one perspective. But when you take a look at it from this perspective, you sit back and you go, "Well, we're not doing too bad as a country. I mean, it's all right. I mean, I'd like to see 70% or 80% or 90%. You'd like to see it higher than that. But overall, and this is from 1968, 50 years. This is over a period of 50 years. We're not going that far above or below 60% employment. We have 60% employment here, somewhere along. I mean, this if you average all it out. So a lot of people might say, and they might bring into the situation, oh, this is, look at this. Look at, they may bring it up as a political thing. Oh, look where we were and who's in charge, and oh my gosh, look where we are, and look who's in charge. I mean, it's that type of thing. Data should never be used for those types of purposes, as far as I'm concerned. It's because one person cannot in any way, no way can one person change the course of human endeavor, change the course of employment, change the course of anything. It has to be a group of people. Has to be. Now, one man or woman may be associated with that movement, but the bottom line is not one person can do it. You have to have a team. You have to have people that believe in that one person and are willing to follow that person. And that's what you do when you have those. And data can be a very, very influential mode of looking at these types of things. So you have to be really, really careful about how you do things and what you do. Now, what I would like to do is so based on that, what I would like to do is something like this. So this is the percent of death. And what I did was I took the percent of death from heart disease. February is Heart Disease Month, so we're switching. We're switching real quick. We're going from unemployment, employment data, whatever else, to another source of data, which is the CDC.gov. And in this, we have basically a percentage of death for from heart disease over a period of time. This is a period of time. This is from 1999 all the way to 2020. So basically 20 years. So this is the amount of death, the percentage of death according to the population that we have here. So what I did was I took this one here and what I you see the everyone sits there and tries to tries to do this. This is supposed to be um this is supposed to be kind of on the funny side, I would hope. It would be, something that you would not take seriously. But this is the percentage of death. Same thing with the years. But instead, what I did was I put down who was in charge of the House at that point in time. Who's in charge of the House of Representatives, Republicans or Democrats? And you can see, this thing has been basically coming down, both Republicans and Democrats, right? Until here's a slight upbend. Now, data people just present the data. This is just, folks, this is just presenting data. Now, you can sit back and you can say, well, who's president and who's the head of the Senate? And who are the major governors? I mean, you could break it down about that, and that's why this is almost silliness. This is trying to correlate. It's called a spurious correlation. It's trying to correlate political party in charge of the House with the number of deaths that have been caused by heart disease. I mean, come on. This is something that should not be done. It's spurious correlation. So in fact, I'm gonna put this down just to make sure this this is spurious correlation. Okay, it's not factual. It's not something that you can sit there and say, oh, this is look during the Republicans look at it, it dropped from 0.25% all the way down to 0.15%, and then the Democrats took over and it kind of leveled out, and then I mean it goes like that. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. This is spurious correlation. But you can take anything with data and you can make it seem like somebody's having a problem. Oh, look at this. There's this and this and this. It's spurious. Remember, correlation is not causation, right? Correlation is not causation. And I put that up here a lot, and again and again and again and again, just so people understand exactly what's going on there. So that's why you can take data, perfectly good data, and you can put it all up against there. And in fact, what I did was I got the party government stuff, and I got this, all the party government aspects from a government website. So I have all these areas, to talk about this, and talks about, the Senate majority, the presidency, the House majority, party government, all these different areas, all the way through from the House of Representatives, from 35th Congress, for the 35th Congress, all the way to the 118th Congress. So that's what we're talking about when we talk about these areas, and how you can take different bits of data and you can put them together and try to do something with that. But I think it's important to understand also that there's a lot of I mean, there's a lot of different ways you can make this work. And this is this employment data that I got from Bureau of Labor Statistics is something that is really a lot of fun to mess with. This goes all the way through employment status, population 16 years and over by sex. This is by sex, age, sex, and race. This is by age and sex. This is by sex, age, and race. This is by, I mean, employment and Hispanic and Latino population. What's this one? Civilian, non-institutional. So this is population 25 years and over. So there's a lot of different ways you can make this work, and you can analyze this data. Excel does a great job of doing that. I mean, you don't have to spend a lot of money. And if you really want, if you don't want to spend any money whatsoever, then you can always go to what they call um, it's Office Libre. It's free Office, and you can sit back and you can actually use that. So what they call LibreOffice, and LibreOffice, if here it is. It's a free download. Just make sure your antivirus is on. I'm not saying that they've had any problems with that, but it's always good to do that. And here you can do the exact same thing when you can do the exact same thing with LibreOffice that you can do with Excel. And it's, there's some basic format changes, but hey, it's little bits of format changes, and this is totally free. LibreOffice is totally free, so you can do basically the exact same things. Look, I mean, even the insert, you can do insert chart. You can it gives all kind of different charts. You can put a different chart in there if you want. You can do a chart wizard, has all kind of different things: data range, data series, chart elements, all the different things that you have in there. So this is just a quick. Yeah, I'm not saying it's an advertisement for that, but it has to do with there is data aspects out there you can use, and it's free of charge, and you can make that work for you. So hopefully today we covered a couple things, and let me summarize real quick. First of all, data is out there to use to be able to check media reports. Absolutely. The whole reason for this show is to make sure that you check those reports. I mean, don't just take it at face value. Don't do that. Go out there and explore it. Explore for yourself. The data's out there. It's free. It's available to you. Please use it. Please use it. It's there for you. The second thing is to make sure that you take a look at charts and see, are they to zero? If they're not to zero, what would happen if those charts were basically at zero? Would they show that much of a difference? Would they show this, or would they show this? That's a big deal from the standpoint of looking at differences, because differences lead to emotions. If you see differences in different areas and all of a sudden it's kind of like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? You have to and also you have to take a look at the entire population of the United States. There's 340 million. Is 340 million now? 340 million people in the United States. So that means a lot. If you have 1,000 people that are dying, what is the percentage of that? Now, I'm not at all diluting the aspect of death. One person's death as a result of something that is just ridiculously senseless. That's one more death we want to have in this world, more or less in the country. But you have to take a look at it from a very wide perspective, because we as a country, if we want to take into consideration we are a country and we are one people, from the standpoint of Americans, then we have to sit back and take a look at the American impact as to what's going on. Very important. So don't let the media panic you. You go out there and check out and see what's going on. In this case, what I did was I took the unemployment, and then I switched over to employment. And I said, okay, what's going on here? When you talk about unemployment versus employment rates, you try to get the whole story, because I think that's kind of important. So until next time, this is Chris Greco signing off for the Data Show, hoping that you were able to get the things you needed to be able to make more sense out of the data that's presented to you by media, because that is what we take a look at, whether it be on our phones or on TV or radio, wherever we're doing it, we're looking at. That's what we're talking about. So until next time, please check the data, ask good questions, and always remember that which you hear is not necessarily a fact. Check what you hear. Until next time, take care.